What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Frickin' Uncultured. As you can see, it's a solo Chandler adventure today, which means you guys are getting another review, as if the thumbnail didn't give it away. As you can also see, I'm wearing a hat. That's because my hair didn't want to cooperate with me this morning, so this is the result, because I was born with curly hair, and curly hair is hard to upkeep, especially whenever it starts getting in that weird in-between phase of being short and long. But enough about that. Let's stop beating around the metaphorical bush and jump right into Donkey Kong Bananza review. First things first though, I just want to thank you all for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, and most importantly, share us with your friends, share us with your family, hell, even share us with your enemies. Andy and I greatly appreciate all your support, and once again, I cannot thank you enough for being here today. So please enjoy the video. Just to give a quick overview on how Andy and I review things, we review them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 obviously being the best. There's 4 main categories that we also judge on. The first one being story with no spoilers, the second one being on graphics / art style, the third one being gameplay, and the fourth one being soundtrack. So, knowing that information, let's go ahead and hop into it. The game opens up with DK working the mines, digging for the newly discovered Banandium gems, which, if the name didn't give it away, is a banana-shaped gemstone. You progress through the tutorial area, learning to play the game, until a vicious storm blows in, ripping away DK's hard hat and pants. That storm was no joke. Side note, pants in this game are actually called britches, and I love that because my grandma says britches. My grandma also says a bunch of other southern sayings, like she calls dinner supper, and if she needs me to get something from the other end of the house, she'll go, "Hey, go grab me that thing from down yonder," and I love it. Makes me think of her. Love you, Grandma. Turns out that storm wasn't an act of nature though, and it was actually brought through by the game's newly created antagonists, known as Voidco. They sink Ingot Isle, the island off the coast of DK Isle, where DK is currently at, into the ground, ruining the ape-led mining operation. As DK observes the catastrophe, he sees something plummeting into the ruins and decides to check out what it is. Real quick, I just want to bring up that I'm fixing to talk about some heavy story stuff from the beginning of the game. And I don't really consider it spoilers since it's all stuff Nintendo announced before the game's release, but just in the event that you don't want the beginning of the game spoiled for you, even though Nintendo paraded it around a whole month before the game's release and it's literally on the cover art of the game, then, go ahead and click off this video. It's okay, you're not going to hurt our feelings. Andy and I have plenty of other videos for you to go check out on this channel. You get DK over to the area where the thing landed only to find out it's a sentient rock, dubbed Odd Rock. This character doesn't stay as Odd Rock for very long though, because a little farther down the line, it's revealed that the rock is actually a little girl.
Oh, hello. Are you selling Girl Scout cookies?
Well, I can't really get anything right now. I'm a little strapped for cash.
Look, I have bills to pay. There's no need to call me names.
Fine. I'll take one of everything.
What do you mean you're out of Thin Mints?
This little girl is a young Pauline of Mario Odyssey fame, and she only wishes to get back home. However, she's now trapped underground with our main man Donkey Kong, but they find out that if they get to the planet's core, that they can have their wishes granted. So, with Pauline wanting to get home, and DK wanting bananas, the unlikely duo begin their descent to the center of the planet. That's the short, sweet, and simple of this story, and since we don't do spoilers whenever we're doing reviews for games, I just want to go ahead and say now that every story beat in this game slaps, and slaps hard, like my grandma after you make fun of her for saying down yonder. But the endgame of this game, though, the endgame is amazing and will be talked about for years to come. And I want to talk about it so badly. I even pitched the idea to Andy to do a spoiler section for this video so I could talk about it, but we came to the conclusion that we're not going to do that. So if you want to know how the game ends, go out and buy a Switch 2 and a copy of this game. Or you know, look it up on YouTube or TikTok. You got free will. I I also have free will. The game ends with. Moving on to graphics and art style. How is this masterful piece of storytelling, for a Nintendo game anyway, presented to us all? Spectacularly. Donkey Kong Bananza boasts beautifully creative environments dripping in eye-catching colors. The character designs are also unique and they are extremely expressive. Oftentimes, it feels like you're playing an animated movie with how Donkey Kong makes faces at the world around him and interacts with Pauline. The DK series has always had some creative worlds and locations, and Bonanza is no exception. There's so many later levels that I want to talk about, but Nintendo kept them under wraps, so I'm going to keep them under wraps too. And graphically, the game is just, it's beautiful. It looks great. It's going to stand the test of time, okay? It's going to be timeless. There is one thing, though, that we do need to talk about that popped up in a lot of other reviews for this game, and that's performance. If you've watched or read other reviews for this game, then you'll see a common complaint amongst the majority of reviewers is the game's performance. There's complaints of texture pop-in and lag, but more lag than anything else, especially in later areas of the game where there's a lot going on screen at a single time. However, I had minimal performance issues while playing this game. I don't even think I had any texture pop in, and I can count the amount of times the game lagged on me on one hand, and even then, it didn't ruin the game because it was in and out just like that, so it didn't ruin my experience. Granted, I also didn't get an early copy of the game. I did pick it up on day one, but at that point Nintendo already had a day one patch out for the game, so it could have been worse prior to its actual official release. And so all of these other reviewers such as IGN, GameSpot, blah blah blah, ended up having a buggier mess, which that's always possible and you always run into that chance with newer video games. But for me personally though, minimal issues. Performance wise, it still ran great majority of the time, and I have currently, according to my Switch, 40 hours or more in this game. So just as a summary though, this game looks fantastic. It's so good, it makes me want to scream in my co-host face. I would never do that though, because that would be incredibly rude. So not long ago, it was announced that Bonanza was made by the same team that did Mario Odyssey, and, I mean, obviously, nobody was surprised by that. You can clearly tell the relation between the two and, the style that the team has, but I'm not going to lie. The thought of that kind of scared me because I am not the biggest Odyssey fan. Yes, I know, you can leave all your hateful comments, down below in the comments for me for my distaste of Odyssey. I don't hate it, it's distasteful to me. I want to spit it out. It's not bad, but yeah, I was a little scared going into the release of Donkey Kong because the gameplay is not my favorite in Odyssey, but I had no reason to be scared. Remember those beautiful environments we were talking about not long ago? Well, they're also completely destructible, which is why you see some people complaining about the game's lag. This is what actually scared me the most about this game, because I thought, as someone who is a completionist, that I was going to have to disassemble every bit of every stage in this game to get all the collectibles. But that turned out not to be the case at all, which I'm glad, because to me, that was one of Odyssey's biggest downfalls, was the tedium of finding and doing everything. And how do you break through these destructible environments? With a bombastic moveset, of course. With Bonanza, it seems like Nintendo remembered that DK is a gorilla. In this game, you'll be swinging your fist a lot of the time, tearing through environments and enemies with ease. You can also roll as well, making getting around these worlds faster, and even come out of a roll with a punch to send an enemy flying. You can also make use of the terrain in a variety of ways. If you rip a chunk of terrain off a level, then you can beat enemies with it, aim and throw it, or even jump on top of it and ride it around in what's called a turf surf. That's not even mentioning how there's different types of terrains that have different effects, such as ripping up stone and beating stronger enemies with it, or grabbing some dirt and sticking it to surfaces to build a staircase to get to some place you're not supposed to be yet. The world is your oyster, so eat it. Or don't if you don't like oysters, but I do. So I have a naming system to my scripts, so that way it helps me in editing these videos, and this section in my script is titled B12, so in this one I just wanted to take a moment to remind you all to take your vitamins. A daily health reminder from Chandler. On to B13. As you're tearing your way through the world, you'll occasionally come across a treasure chest, which contains a treasure map to a Banandium gem or a fossil. You can also buy these maps from in-market NPC characters as well for some gold, but the point is that once you have one of these maps, it will actually mark the location of a random Banandium gem or a fossil on your in-game map. And so you can actually go and see the general area that these items are located in, but a cool thing that they added though was so that way you don't have to consistently open your map to see where this area is. You can actually hold down a button and whistle, and the whistling will mark it in the overworld for you to find it, just like in real life.
It's coming from the microwave. My wife's leaving me notes again. Isn't she great?
So I had mentioned Banandian gems and fossils not too long ago, and just to clarify, those are actually the game's main collectibles. Banandium gems are this game's equivalent to Power Stars or Moons from Mario, but there's a twist with them. In Mario Odyssey, you collect moons to power your ship in order to progress through the game and get to new kingdoms. In Bananza, you don't need any specific MacGuffin to continue the story. You only have to hit story beats to progress the game, so what's the purpose of Banandium gems, I hear you ask? They're how you gain points to fill out your skill tree. Now I know what you're thinking. A skill tree? In a Donkey Kong game? Shouldn't that be in Zelda, not in Donkey Kong? Well, guess what? Shut up, because it actually works really well in this game. You don't have to get any of these Banandium gems, it's true, but the game does get harder as you continue, and so does the terrain you have to break through. So gathering these gems to fill out your tree is beneficial, as you can do standard stuff such as upgrade your health and the amount of items you can carry that assist you, but, most importantly, upgrade your terrain tearing abilities to rip through stronger elements blocking your path. So, what's the point of the fossils, you ask? Well, if you stopped asking questions long enough, I would tell you. Y'all are all very vocal this episode. The point of fossils, other than to be references to previous titles in the franchise, is to buy costumes. So since October's going to be here in a couple months, go ahead and go grab your grandparents since they're basically living fossils, so that way you can trade them in for the new Pennywise costume. Pennywise is still relevant, right? Welcome to Dairy's fixing to come out, I think. So yeah, fossils are this game's equivalent to purple coins from Odyssey. As you can see, old habits die hard. However, costumes are for more than just show in Bananza. The game already has a skill tree, so why not add cosmetics that affect the way you play? That's right, folks. Donkey Kong Bananza is essentially a platformer RPG, since you can get costumes that, make different effects happen, such as taking less damage from enemies, taking less damage from environmental hazards, coming across treasure chests more often, doubling the amount of gold you can collect. And yes, just like in an RPG, sometimes your fit is going to look ridiculous, but for the trade-off of better stats.
I may look silly, but I can carry so many more socks now.
Aside from gems and fossils, this game does have other things you can find, one thing being gold and another being Banandium chips, which are busted up pieces of Banandium gems. Gold is for buying items in the shop, such as the aforementioned treasure maps, and also apple juice, which refills your health if you lose it all, like a fairy in Zelda. and balloons, which functions as a rescue item for if you fall into a death pit. Banandium chips can be traded in at the chip exchange for Banandium gems. So if you're having a hard time getting a certain gem in the game, you can just trade your chips for a gem to offset the one you missed and continue to upgrade your skill tree. As you all know at this point, most Nintendo games have a gimmick to them, and Donkey Kong Bananza is no exception. And the gimmick for this game is actually contained within the title of the game. And the gimmick for this one is Bananza forms. Nintendo showed off 3 different Bananza forms before the game's release. Whether there's more than 3 or not, I'll leave for you to discover. But they showed off Kong, Zebra, and Ostrich Bananza. Essentially, each one is just an extension of DK's core abilities, but with added benefits. In Kong, you hit harder than you did before, and can break through terrain that DK previously couldn't. In Zebra, you move quicker, being able to charge and run across water. In Ostrich, you can fly and glide, as well as drop egg bombs on unsuspecting enemies from above. All your Bananza forms have their own branch in the skill tree as well, being able to upgrade and add on to the things you can do within that transformation. These forms do have a timer though, so you can't use them forever. You can find different outfits for Pauline though, in order to extend the amount of time you can use that specific Bananza. But once the meter runs dry, you need to make sure you gather enough gold to refill the charge to activate it, or drink a melon juice, which will refill your charge meter instantly, allowing you to continue in your Bananza form. The gimmick in this game I feel is also better than the gimmick in Odyssey, since the idea in that game is to capture enemies that play drastically different from Mario. Not to just keep bashing on Odyssey, but it's just really easy to compare the two since they're both made by the same team and have a lot of similar features. But Odyssey's capture gimmick feels more like a tacked-on portion of the core gameplay since it requires what you're doing to come to a screeching halt in order to capture an enemy and play as said enemy. In Bananza though, the gimmick of the Bananza forms feels like an extension of the core gameplay since you can do everything DK does normally in a Bananza form, plus whatever extra that form provides, and you don't have to stop whatever you're doing to transform. You can do it on the fly and revert back to DK just as quickly. I've said Bananza and Banandium so many times that it's starting to feel like it's altering my brain chemistry. So let's go ahead and move on to soundtrack. The soundtrack to Donkey Kong is amazing, but it's a Nintendo game, so you should already know that. In my opinion though, the DK franchise has always had some of the better scores in Nintendo's vast library, and this title is no exception. All the new songs fit the areas you visit perfectly, and there's plenty of rearrangements to older songs from the franchise's history that just hit hard with me as someone who's played the Donkey Kong games their entire life. Even if you've never played the original Country trilogy though, these songs are still good on their own 2 feet. You don't have to be nostalgic for them, like I am, to enjoy them. Music as a whole just has a large part to play in this game overall, and that's part of the reason why the team actually chose Pauline to be DK's partner for this title, since she basically has music as her identity now, since she debuted her hit single Jump Up Superstar in Mario Odyssey. For DK to even use his Bananza transformations, Pauline has to sing specific songs for each one, and there's even areas you can't get to unless you have Pauline sing to unblock the way. The moment Nintendo puts this game on their music app though, I will be blaring this soundtrack to and from work. That's all the talking points I had for Donkey Kong Bananza though, so I guess it's time to give this game its rating. And let me just say that from beginning to end, this game is just an absolute gem. It continued to pull me in deeper and deeper as I progressed, and as I said at the top of the video, the finale is just amazing. It should be studied. It is a work of art. I loved the finale so much. So, let's go ahead and give this game its rating. On a scale of 1 to 10, this game gets the official Frickin' Uncultured rating of 10 out of 10. To give a little insight on how I am as a person though, I love ranking and rating things. I do it in my pastime. You can call it weird, whatever, I don't care. It's something that I enjoy doing. And it doesn't matter if it's movies, games, books. I've always given things ratings on a scale of 1 to 10. And while, yes, the official Frickin' Uncultured rating for this game is a 10 out of 10, I have to let you know that for me personally though, I had to break my own rating system for this game, and for me personally, I think this game is an 11 out of 10. So that's the thing is a 10 out of 10 for Frickin' Uncultured means that Andy and I consider the game a masterpiece, but in my own mind though, this game is an 11 out of 10 because it is more than a masterpiece. This game will be timeless. If someone on the street walked up to me and said, "I've never played a Nintendo game a day in my life, which one should I play?" My answer would be Donkey Kong Bananza. I cannot sing this game's praises enough. It is just fantastic, and I do not even remember the last time a game has made this much of an impact on me. So that's it for the Donkey Kong Bananza review. Obviously, Donkey Kong is back, and I hope he is here to stay around for a very long time and that we start getting games with him more frequently. But, as always, as we're closing out, I just want to say again, thank you all so much for watching. Your support just means the world to Andy and I, and we can't thank you enough, and we love it, and we love you guys. You guys are amazing. And make sure that you like and that you subscribe, and then not only that, that you hit the little bell icon so that way you're notified whenever we put new videos up on this channel. And remember, you can also catch us every Friday at noon Central Standard Time with new episodes of our podcast that Andy and I do together. So remember, please share us with your friends, your family, maybe even your enemies. And thank you, Nintendo, for giving us such an amazing game. So I hope you all have a good day. And remember, it only gets better from here. And remember to also stay uncultured.